to a certain extent, it is about you and you are your brand, but actually what you're doing is to serve other people. So it's really about how you serve and add value to other people's lives through your message and through your voice. And that's really powerful.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Value Whispering podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, your value whisperer and business coach. And today we are talking about how do you market yourself with confidence and ease. Now, we know that this is essential for every business owner to master, even if we don't essentially feel that we are somebody who naturally enjoys being in the spotlight, but we have to be able to talk about our business and the value that we offer for other people if we're going to be able to attract the right clients and deliver that value and make a positive difference. So how do we go from feeling a little bit hesitant and awkward to feeling at ease and confidence? That's what I'm going to be talking about today with Crystal Jukes, a mindset and marketing mentor who's really helping women to find that voice and confidence, particularly in situations where perhaps self-doubt or challenging situations have quietened our voice over time. So we're going to have a great discussion about that today. This was originally part of the Dream Clients Summit held last year, but the message is still as powerful and needed in today's world. So I'm excited to share that with you. Meantime, I wanted to give you a little heads up that in the Dream Clients Club community, we have our very last live session today. It's an action networking. We're going to be reflecting on the year, embracing our lessons that 2024 has taught us and looking ahead to the future. And that's then going to be followed next week by a series of planisodes that will be here on the podcast, but coming into the community, and you can find the workbooks and start planning for your success along with the community there. As always, it's free to join that community. You just need to pop along to melittacampbell.com/club, and that will redirect you to the club and you can join that community completely free. So I look forward to seeing you in there. Meantime, here's Crystal. Hi, Crystal. It's great to have you with us on the podcast today.
Hi, thanks for having me, Melitta.
And it's great to have you with us. And we are kind of twins in a way, because we not only have a similar background in marketing and branding and qualifications and everything, but you actually live on the street where I grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, small world. Yeah, and we got some of the same connections as well. So, yep.
Yeah, so funny. So welcome to the show. We're going to talk all about personal branding and visibility mindset. And I think this is going to be such a juicy discussion because so many of us, and we were just saying before we went live, even us now, after doing it for so long, still have these fears from time to time. Oh, can I do this? Am I allowed to say that? What will people think of me? And so we're going to dig into all of that and help people understand their fears, where they're coming from, and how to move forward. Because I think fear is normal, but if it holds us back, then we need to do something about that. So we are going to help people move forward. But before we do, I'd love it if you could share a little bit about your story. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so like yourself, I've worked in marketing for most of my life, so around 18 years now in various roles. I kind of like worked in marketing, but now taking a more mindset approach to it. So I've worked in various roles. I'm now head of international marketing for a university. So I actually work most of the week in that role, and then I'm building my kind of mindset business on the side. So juggling the two. And I came to mindset because I think it was in lockdown where there was no connection with other people, and I love connecting with people. And I was looking for a way that I could maybe marry the two. So using what I knew in marketing and actually looking at the mind and neuroscience, which has always interested me, and really understanding what holds people back from being confident, not just in marketing themselves, but in day-to-day life, and being confident to speak up in being confident to go for opportunities that they're aligned to and very capable of, but just don't have the confidence to put themselves out there and do that. So I discovered mindset coaching. I'd gone through quite an intense period of grief during this time, and I was looking for something else in my life, a new direction. So I found the Mindset Coach Academy, which I know you've yourself been through as well. And it just became something which I loved reading about. I spent most of my evenings just being interested, listening to podcasts and things. So I knew, when you found something you love, don't you? Because you don't mind how much time it takes up in the evenings where you're learning about it. So that's how I came to mindset, really. And I think for myself as well, I've lacked confidence all of my life. I think from being very young and consistently being told you're very shy. All of my school reports said she's very shy, she's quite reserved, she's capable, but she doesn't put her hand up. So having that reiterated time and time again makes you believe that that's you and that you will always be that way. But when I found mindset work, I realized that there was a way to break out of that belief and to actually unravel it all and become somebody who is confident. So I find that really interesting.
I totally agree. I wrote the Shy Girl's Guide to Networking for the same reason. I had labeled myself the shy girl because I've been told it so many times. And I was like, oh, that's me. And then throughout my career, it's really held me back. And it's only on reflection I realized just how much it held me back as well, because I was smart like yourself. I got a good job, I was moving through the ranks, but it was only when I started to address that confidence issue that things really started to take off. And it's like, whoa, I could have done this ages ago.
Yeah, same.
If I just spoken up a little bit more and just had that bit more confidence in who exactly I am, what I stand for, what my value and values are, and all of this great stuff that now it just seems so obvious, but it was missing for me back then and for you. And I think for a lot of people, we think that we see other people doing certain things and, oh, that could never be us. But it's so not true. And I love that you're here now speaking to us is proof that you can do this, even if you have always thought you were shy. It's just your mindset holding you back. Which brings me to my first question. Why do you think people fear being visible so much?
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems from childhood. I think that there are a lot of things that we're told, especially as women, you have to act a certain way and be a certain way. There's things that you don't do when you're a woman. When you're a girl, you kind of kept in check. And I think that does have a massive effect on you as an adult and being visible and being able to use your voice to express yourself in ways that are true for you, but you're worrying about what other people think. If I say this, what are they going to think? Who am I to say this? What right do I have? These are the types of thoughts that come up for everybody. And I think it's knowing that's not unique to you. Like most of the population actually think that way. Even the most successful people in the world, they will have these thoughts that come up time and time again, but they've conditioned their minds to override those thoughts so that they can move forward with their goals. But those are the common things. I think it's thinking that you're going to be judged. And mostly for me, it wasn't actually from people I didn't know. It's mostly friends and family. If I put this out there, they're going to think you've gone from marketing in this corporate career to suddenly talking about mindset and how you can achieve your goals. And who are you to talk about that, especially people who don't know that you've gone down that path and trained in that area. So that's a really common one that comes up. Again, then comparing yourself to other people, that can really hold us back from being visible. And I think I've tried to stop following people on social media now, because when I started out, I started following people because in NLP, you can mirror people, and that can be a good thing to do, is to look at people that you look up to and to look at the ways that they're successful and try and think, well, how are they doing it? How can I incorporate that into my business and my life? Which is fine if you can detach yourself. But if you bring in emotions into it, where you're looking at those people who are a bit further ahead than you, and it's making you feel an emotion that's just sitting with you, and it's actually stopping you from moving forward then, because you're looking at them and comparing yourself. It's not a great thing to do, and they started off where we are now. It's just that they're that much further ahead. So that comparison for me was huge, and I wasted a lot of time looking at other people and what they were doing rather than focusing on my unique skills and what I could bring to my business. So yeah, judgment, comparison, and also just thinking it is that, imposter, I guess, which is a bit more of a newer kind of concept, isn't it? But that imposter syndrome. And I think especially where you have got a job and maybe you're building something on the side, that really does bring up a lot of these things as well, because you're being pulled in two different directions. So it's very easy then to say, act like it's a hobby, really, rather than a business that you're running, because you're like, well, I've got my job anyway, so I'll just step back a little bit now. So I think that that's something as well, which I have experienced from time to time, which is an emotional thing, and is a lot to do with identity and how you see yourself, really, and stepping into that identity as an entrepreneur rather than somebody who works in corporates, is making sure that you can make that distinction between the two, really.
And I hear it all the time when you go networking, and not even people that are running something on the side, but also people that are all in their business and say, oh, I just do this little thing. Oh, I just have this, or I just help, really belittles it to the other person, but it betrays what they're really thinking about themselves. And as you say, often it's because we're comparing to someone else or worried about what people might think. So we reduce ourselves already so that we minimize that risk of being found out as an imposter or being seen in that way. But I'm curious, when it comes to the judgment part, because I think this is something that's so ingrained in us and it holds us back with so many different things. I remember at one point, one mentor got me to write out, so what exactly are you worried about? And when I wrote it out, it's like, well, I'm worried that a friend might think this, or a friend of a friend, or it was just really people that weren't even that close to me, that if they thought one thing or another, it wasn't going to have any impact on me and what I was doing at all. And so they're like, so why is that any of your business? I was like, oh, well, I guess it isn't. But do you have any practical steps that people can do to stop comparing, stop with that judgment? Or if they feel themselves moving into that space, which is quite natural for us as humans, then what can we do to prevent ourselves from holding back because of those feelings?
Yeah, I think it's understanding that it's actually, to a certain extent, it is about you, and you are your brand and you are your business. But actually, what you're doing is to serve other people. So just reframing it from, this is all about me and what are people going to think about me and I'm going to be judged, to actually who needs to hear what I've got to say today, who can take value from what I'm sharing, like what I'm putting out through my communities. And when I meet people, is helping other people, is bringing people closer to me, is making connections, and ultimately growing my business and helping me bring more profit into my business, therefore enhancing my life. So it's really about those people and how you serve and add value to other people's lives through your message and through your voice. And that's really powerful. I think when I have a bit of a blip and a bit of a wobbly moment, if I do think that and bring myself back to exactly why am I putting all of this effort in to build something, is because my dream is to support my children, is to have more freedom and flexibility. So by sharing my voice and helping other people, that this is going to become a reality. It's going to bring me one step closer to my goal. So I think always thinking about who you're helping and what your why is can really help you come back to your heart center, really, and just understand, it's not about you, and it's not about what these other people think. And there will ultimately be people who judge, even if they do it in their own minds, but they'll probably be scrolling. They'll see it for a couple of seconds. They're not going to give you a second thought. Then they've got their own problems to worry about, so they don't go through their day thinking, oh, Crystal's posted something today about this and I don't agree with it. And it's not consistently on their minds all day, although we think it is. It's not. So just understanding, really, like, to what extent, yeah, you might be judged, but to what extent do you think you will be judged? And also, those people aren't the people you want to work with anyway. So it's fine. Like, one thing that I noticed is when I started posting things on social media about mindset and the things that I was doing, I started getting lots of people in my local community starting to follow me. So friends and like boyfriends of some of my friends. And every time I saw someone, I thought, oh no. So I was just thinking, you're not my target audience. You're not who I really want to work with. But actually, they sent me direct messages to say, I really love your content. Like, it really sparks something in me. I really enjoy seeing it. So, and this was males as well, and that's not ultimately who I work with, but you don't know the ripple effect, really, of what your voice can do when you express in something. It does resonate with people, so it will help people in ways that you don't expect, really.
Yeah, I love that. Focusing on it and who you serve. And the key point you mentioned there is that there are so many people that we're not working with. We want to show up for and serve our dream clients. And so anyone who isn't our dream clients, if they don't resonate with our messages, they're not going to interact with our posts on social media. And so they'll stop seeing them anyway. So the likelihood of them seeing stuff and judging us becomes less and less the whole while. But like yourself, when I started getting visible on social media, it was a bit scary at first, but then people started saying, oh, thank you for this. And over the years, so many people have thanked me for my content or come back and said, oh, well, you said this, which helped me do this, and it really helped me through, and now I'm over here. Just from reading a blog post or following some training that I put out or watching what I'm doing on social media. And one lady, even, in fact, two people have offered to pay me for my content because it's been so helpful for them in their business. They're like, can you come to some of my classes? I'd love to repay the value I've got. And you think, wow, if people are taking away that much value that they feel they want to pay you back in some way to say thank you, that's really powerful. And that helps me keep my mindset in check. Is like, it's the people who judge are not my dream clients, and they don't really matter. And in all these years, I've never had anyone come and say anything bad or nasty or anything like that. So I think sometimes we fear the unknown. We fear all these things that will never actually happen.
Yeah, because we're trying to keep ourselves safe, aren't we, ultimately? But it's just conditioning yourself, because the more that you can do it and the more that you get, you see the nice comments and things, the easier it gets. And then that becomes a distant thought, when you're starting out, especially, it's there, isn't it? It's the forefront of your everything that you're doing. You're thinking, who's going to see this? But actually, as time goes on and you keep doing it, it dissipates, like everything in mindset, really. You learn to overcome it and then becomes a distant memory. It's not something that you think about anymore.
Yeah. And I think another thing you can do is just start where you are. Start where you feel comfortable. Just post something, a gentle comment, something that's not controversial. It's not going to really get people's backs up or anything like that. And just start simply so that you can build that confidence muscle. And, I've definitely got bolder as I've gone on in my business. Once I realized, oh, people actually like this. Well, if they thought that was good, I can take it here and share something even more. Since I've made my content more personal, I've noticed that people have really related all the more to my content as well. But that's, I've been doing this for more than 10 years now, and it's been a long time building up to this. It's not as you said, the people that we're looking at, they can be a few steps ahead of us and we're not there yet. So don't compare yourself or worry about that. Just start where you are and start small and build up from there. So you also specialize in helping people with their personal branding. Do you think once you have a clear personal brand that helps with your visibility mindset?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think we don't really undertake that exercise of looking at what our key attributes are and not just thinking, say I've worked in marketing for a long time, so I could potentially help someone with marketing strategy and content and lots of different practical things. But actually, it's going deeper than that and understanding, okay, so great, you can do these things, but what are the benefits and the value that you offer through that? Because anyone can offer that, and that's fine. How many people are out there who do marketing? It is huge. But actually, you're the only person who can deliver that in the way that you do. So there could be 10 people delivering exactly the same aspect of teaching, but you'll know from your time in school or university, there are some lecturers and teachers that you just connect with because they've got energy and personality, and the way they deliver something, it just makes you feel good. You just feel good around that person. And it's the same for your personal brand. It's understanding that the energy, the personality that you bring to the things that you deliver is what sets you apart from other people. So when you look at it a little bit closer then and think, well, okay, these are the things I deliver, these are the benefits, this is the value I can offer, but also, this is the type of personality that I have. And also looking at your values, and that's such a core part of mindset as well, is understanding what are the key values that drive you. Because if your key values are kind of centered around authenticity and integrity, honesty, it could be like freedom. If those are your values, and then somebody else who is looking to work with you has got the similar values, they really value someone who's genuine, who they can talk to in a really sincere way, who's got maybe similar background to them, who's got children and started off in a certain way and has moved through something they're going through, they're going to want to work with you because they'll be attracted to you through your values, and you'll have values that other people don't possess. So it's really undertaking all of these aspects of looking at who you are as a brand and picking it all and then setting that out. I like to create kind of like a brand guide, really. So you've got that you can reflect on, so you know exactly, yeah, this is my why and my purpose. These are my values, and this is what I bring to working with clients. This is what I bring to the world. And quite often we don't give ourselves the chance to go that deep and to look at it in that much detail, really. So that's why I think it's such a fundamental part of building a business and feeling good about yourself in an authentic way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's, I had the same things. Like when I started out working with corporates and large organizations like the UN, and then pivoted to work with small businesses and mostly female coaches, consultants, service-based businesses. But I was like, well, what can I bring to them? And when I started speaking with them and looking at what was holding them back, the biggest thing was, we don't necessarily need to teach them marketing, because they can take they can find out how to run a YouTube channel from videos on YouTube. But what they can't learn there, as you said, is going that bit deeper. Well, how do I make that applicable to me? How do I bring that out to my audience in a way that only I can and resonates with the right people? And that takes that first step of understanding, well, what is that value? Who do you represent to other people? And who are you in yourself? So there's a great quote by RuPaul, and he explains that it was only when he understood who he was and who he wanted to be in the world and what he wanted to make happen, so his why, as he was saying, that he became confident. And then he was able to create everything that happened after that. And so everything that he achieves today started from that moment where he understood who he was and built that confidence. I mean, it's hard to imagine seeing him now that he ever struggled with confidence, but it was a really big issue for him for a very long time. So it's really interesting to see where we can go to, but it all starts with understanding who we are, what we represent, and really believing in that value that we can bring to our dream clients and what that represents, and start there. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, great. I think it's a lot as well about identity, isn't it? And who you perceive yourself to be. You know, when we were all earlier talking about confidence and being told that you're shy continuously as a child, then you do take that into adulthood and you just believe that, okay, I am that shy person, so there's things I'm not going to be able to do. So I think a big part of personal branding and the mindset aspect as well that we've trained in is unraveling all of those layers of things that you believe about yourself that are not true, so that you can start creating new habits and behaviors that align with the person that you do want to be. And then you can shed and let go of all of those things that are not true about yourself. And that's why I'm so passionate about that mindset aspect of it, because that's such powerful work that can be the foundation of moving forward with a great, strong, authentic personal brand.
Yeah, and I think we take on so many of these labels, and there's so many beliefs we have about ourselves and our abilities that just aren't true and really hold us back. And once we strip those down, Lily Singh describes it as that, you know, we're a tiramisu. And I love this, rather than an onion. So we have all the sprinkles and the fluffy cream on the top. Then we have the kind of the biscuity bit, but then the real juicy stuff is right down at the bottom. We need to get juicy stuff and bring that up. And it's like, I love that description. I think one of my favorite questions is when you ask yourself, you know, this is you identify a belief and then, well, is that true? And you go through this whole process and you get to this question, who would I be if I didn't believe that? Who would I be if that wasn't the thing, like that's holding me back? And then I would do all of these things. And then you start to think, well, why couldn't I do that now? And actually I can. And it's so
you can.
Yeah, when you take that time, and I think this is the thing, and you alluded to it earlier, we don't necessarily give ourselves that time and space to explore this in enough depth that helps us move forward in a more meaningful way. And I'm always trying to keep things simple, because I'm a master overthinker, but I have running my business around my kids. I have to keep things simple so that they work and they're doable. Otherwise, I won't do it if it's too complicated, but significant as well. Really putting something out there that's going to help other people, like serve people in a way that no one else can do necessarily, because they don't have that same like background and outlook and vision and everything that I have. And I think when we get to that space where we know what's significant for us and we're starting to feel more purposeful and that everything we're doing has meaning, then suddenly so much of these fears that we have start to be pale into the background. They never necessarily go completely. As you say, we always have these wobble moments, but we stop letting them hold us back. And I think, and I love that everything you shared that guides people on where to start with that. So if anyone is out there thinking, yeah, this is interesting, I think I need to dig into my tiramisu. Where would you recommend that they start with this process?
Well, really, just starting thinking about who you are really and your why and your purpose. You know, what is it that drives you? What is it that's brought you to this point in your life of wanting to make this change, of starting this business, of growing to the next level? What is it? What's driving you? And then really thinking about your values, because I think values underpins everything that we do. And if we don't understand what we stand for, it's really hard to express that to anyone else. I think if you don't know yourself, you know, what it is, what drives you and what matters most to you, then you can't communicate that to others, and it's really hard to then attract people to work with you that you genuinely want to work with if you've got similar interests and you're aligned, so I think really understanding that, and also thinking about the experiences in your life that have brought you to where you are today. So there are so many things that happen to us, and good things, but ultimately a lot of the bad things bring us to where we are now, because it's a learning process and we grow from those horrible experiences that have happened. So I know sometimes it can be really hard to go back and to think about some of those things, but if you can really think about how those experiences have brought you to where you are today, because there'll be other people who've gone through those things and you've been able to overcome it, and they'll be at that point now where they're looking to overcome the same situation normally. So really think about all of your experiences, how they've shaped you and how they've brought you to where you are. I do like to reflect on that, some of the really joyful things that have happened in my life, but ultimately the really bad things are the things that have driven me forward and have brought me to where I am today. So what can you learn from that, and how can you help other people going through similar things?
Yeah, exactly. It's these moments where we've had our worldview really challenged, and sometimes it confirms our worldview, and other times it shatters it into pieces. And then we're like, well, now what? And then we rebuild from there, and have a more, we build so much knowledge from those experiences. And I remember being thrown out of a job interview, and because they thought I was lying, because I never stood up for my value. I never said, I did this. This was my idea and this was what happened. I kept saying we all the way through. So they assumed I was passing someone else's work off as my own. And
Wow.
yeah, so my worldview, I'm a great team player. I had loads of value, but I wasn't able to express that because I hadn't really believed it. It was only when someone challenged that I thought, oh, hold on a minute. I really need to understand where is my value and step into that. And as soon as I did, so many things changed for the better. It was a horrible experience, but
Yeah.
it's one of the most profound I've had. It really brought me to a whole nother place. So I like this idea of looking at all the challenges we've had, these dark moments, because that's where we really learn what's important for us, what we're really made of, where our gaps are, what we need to move into to reach a place where we really want to go in life. So yeah,
Yeah.
that idea.
And I think as well, that can really help you when you are going through difficult situations, say in your business, and you need to move forward. And you can have those emotions that come through, where you're just thinking, oh, what, maybe you're having a day where you're thinking, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I putting all of this effort in? But actually, looking back at some of those experiences and those challenges and knowing that you've got through things that were much harder than what you're going through right now. I do like to do that, because I think sometimes we can think, oh, this is the worst situation in the world. But if we just look at it from, right, okay, actually a different perspective, I've been through something that was actually much, much harder than this. And I was resilient and I came through it. I think that can be really helpful as well, looking at situations where, and it can work in a positive way as well. If you're not feeling confident today, look at the experience, look at the times where you were feeling your most confident and where you were really proud of yourself, and harness that feeling. Like, how did you feel during that time? What did you see? What did you hear? And really bring that emotion to life, make it brighter. That can really help you in looking at that through that kind of mindset perspective as well.
Yeah, I love that concept of looking for the evidence that you can do this. And one thing that I get my clients to do is to write a success journal, and every tiny little thing that they've done that they perhaps thought they couldn't, or wins they've had, they can then go back to that in those moments to remind themselves that they are capable, they can make amazing things happen, and they can get through hard times too. As Glennon Doyle says, we can do hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crystal, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And I know if people have resonated with your message and everything you've been sharing, you actually have a guide to help them take that next step called the Guide to Confident Marketing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I've got a free guide which is available on my website. So yeah, you could go to crystaljukes.com and you can download that straight away then by sharing your email. So it's great because it's got some kind of mindset aspects in there as well as some practical marketing advice.
Brilliant. And I think marrying those two together is so powerful. So yeah, I think that guide's going to help a lot of people. Thank you. Is there anything you feel that we haven't touched on that would help people to feel, yeah, I can do this? Or if they're having one of our classic wobble moments, that will help them move through that?
Yeah, I think it's just knowing that you can do it. Like you said, you can do it, but you don't need to do it all at once. You taking small steps, because sometimes we've got this huge dream, that we want to achieve, and we're just looking at the massive dream, but really going back to the start and looking at, okay, what are the really small steps that I can take that are going to help me get to this dream? Because if we look at it as one overarching goal, it can be so overwhelming, and you can get, those physical kind of tight chest and all of that comes with that. But how can you every day spend a little bit of time moving closer to where you need to be to get to that goal? Because if you can just take those small steps and spend even the smallest amount of time doing something, that is going to move you in the right direction. So really just break it down into the smallest things that you can, which are going to help you get there, so that you don't become overwhelmed. And I think it can be difficult for us now, because when we look at social media, we see all of these images of people with perfect lives. We see the women with the dream businesses and the men, and they've got all these material things. And, it can be easy to get caught up in that and think, this is brilliant, and how am I going to get there? But actually, is it brilliant, and is that true? So just focus on yourself and thinking there is a way for you to get to where you need to be, but just make it small, and make it manageable for you, so that you don't get that overwhelm and that kind of lack of confidence, really.
Yeah, such an amazing tip. And I think often we think too big. We have these, like I said, these big goals, which is great. And you have to think with the end in mind, otherwise you won't go in the right direction. But too often we think, oh, I'm going to do this. And it's a big thing. It's a whole project. And we don't know where to start with that. And every time we don't achieve it, we feel like a failure. So breaking it down into these smaller milestones makes sure that we can take those little steps, feel good about actually moving forward and making progress. And the ultimate antidote to fear is action. So if we can stay in action, we give less space for our fears, because we're actually doing it, so that we're not fearing it, we're actually on the road. So I love that concept. Thank you so much for sharing that. Crystal, this has been fantastic. If people want to reach out and connect with you, you've shared your website. Is that the best place for them to go, or is there?
Yeah, my Instagram account, so it's crystal.jukes.coaching.
And Jukes with his Jukes.
UKES, yeah.
Brilliant. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Melitta.
I hope you have found today's episode helpful and valuable, and that you're all set to start being more visible and making sure that your voice, your point of view, your opinions are heard and have an impact for others. There are more tools, tips, and insights coming up for you in the next episode. And in fact, the next episode is going to be a series of planisodes to help you end the year strong and start looking at how you can shape your success in 2025. So I hope you will join us for those. They will be live here on the podcast, and you can participate and share your work with us and ideas in the Dream Clients Club. Just go to melittacampbell.com/club to join us, and you'll have all the workbooks and everything for you there. So I look forward to seeing you in the club. If you have found this episode helpful, then I would love it if you could leave a review on iTunes or Spotify, because it really does help other people to find the show and benefit from all the wisdom shared by myself and my guests as well. So I look forward to seeing you in the Planisodes next week. Meantime, I'm Melitta Campbell, your business coach and value whisperer, and I wish you an amazing week.